Hello and welcome back to Storytime with Ranger Nathan. I am, of course, Ranger Nathan, and I am a park ranger at Rosie the Riveter, World War II Homefront National Historical Park. Today we'll be reading another chapter of V for Victory, part of the Homefront Heroes book series by Teresa Funk, who has given us permission to read chapter 10 today. Just a quick recap of chapter 9. It was a very brief chapter, and I think the main takeaway was Gary and Miguel being able to reconcile their differences and kind of get over that fight, and they're just about to have Abuelo's party. Chapter 10, The Trouble Begins. Though it's late in the evening, as soon as Mr. Garza hears the first crack of the bat, he comes shuffling out of his door and drags his chair to the middle of the yard to keep an eye on us kids. Lucky comes out with him. "What you doing here so late?" I ask Lucky. "I've been spending the last couple of nights here. The old man has a cough and Mama worries about him." As if on cue, Mr. Garza doubles over in a coughing fit. Lucky pats his back hard. Mr. Garza wipes his mouth on her handkerchief and pushes Lucky away. Lucky just laughs. Between my cousins, Gary, Alejandro, and me, we've got enough kids to play if a few play on both sides. But then who should come up the walk but the Wagner boys? "Looks like you got room for a few more," says Tug. I glance at Gary. He shakes his head slightly. Alejandro does too. As I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of them, one of my cousins pipes up. "Sure, come on." He doesn't know the Wagner boys, so he can't imagine what we're in for. But before I can say any more, Tug snatches the bat. "I'm up," he announces, and everyone scoots back to their positions. I'm pitching, and it's not too hard to size up Tug. He's going to hit the ball and hit it hard. He's waggling the bat, waiting for my pitch, and I'm wondering if I can get away with walking him or if that would make him mad. To find out, I throw a lousy fastball that veers off to the left. He drops the bat and stalks right towards me. "Is that the best you got?" "Nah, the sun got in my eyes, that's all." "Well, you better get it right this time or else." He leans over me and I sink down in my shoes. My older cousin comes off third base to help me, but I shake my head. He steps back to his position. Tug returns to home plate and picks up the bat. He spits on the street and waggles the bat again. I sigh and let the ball fly. He has to step into the pitch, but he hits it. A pop fly to left field. I hold my breath, willing Gary not to catch it, but Gary knows better. He lets the ball bounce a couple of times, then scoops it up and tosses it to first, but Tug is already safely on base. Tug's brother is next up to bat, and that's how the game goes for a while, all of us playing our best, unless one of the Wagner boys is up to bat. None of us protest when Tug takes over the pitcher's mound. It's easier to let him have his way, and it doesn't hurt too much when his balls beat us on the leg or the shoulder. I'm never quite sure if he's just a bad throw or if he's trying to hit us. Tug's team pulls ahead 6-4. "Get used to losing," Tug says as my team takes the field. "I've got that scrap contest all wrapped up." "That's what you think," Gary says. "We've got a pretty good stash going. We've even got a brass headboard." "That's so," Tug says. "Keeping it at your place, huh, Miguel? Wouldn't you like to know?" Tug nudges his brother and they walk off the field. I turn to Gary. "What'd you tell him that for?" "Well, you said yourself we could still win. Besides, I didn't say where it was." "How hard do you think it's going to be to figure out where?" Now he knows we found a place big enough to put a headboard. Gary's face goes ashen. "You don't think he'd really steal our stuff, do you?" In the shake of a dog's tail. "Oh, I'm sorry, Miguel." "Hey, sissies," Tug yells. He's up to bat again. "You gonna play or stand around gossiping like a bunch of old hens?" "Never mind, Gary. Get back to the outfield. We'll have my cousins help us move it later. It'll be fine," I say. "Move it where?" Gary looks so sorry that it's hard to be mad at him. "I don't know. My room? Will your mother let us?" "We'll do it while she's busy cleaning up. It'll only be for a few days." "Hey, you hear me?" Tug yells. He's dropped the bat and is headed our way. I jerk my head towards the outfield, and Gary runs back. Tug stops and puffs up his chest like the big man he imagines himself to be. I try to throw a good pitch to calm him down, but I'm so distracted worrying about the scrap heap that my pitch drops low and outside. Tug tries to hit it anyway, but the ball catches on the tip of the bat and sails up backward into Mr. Garza's yard. Mr. Garza's eyes fly open. He struggles to rise, but Lucky pats him on the shoulder and runs for the ball. He picks it up, and instead of tossing it to Alejandro, who's playing catcher, he throws the ball all the way back to me. And it's a beauty of a throw. Hard and fast and right to me. I catch it and toss a nod of approval at him. Tug, though, charges over to Lucky, bat in hand. "Keep your hands off the ball," he orders. Lucky takes a few steps back and lowers his head. "Hey," I call, "it's my ball. I'll say who can touch it." Tug whirls on me. You're going to let some colored kid play with you? At that moment, I noticed Tug's big mistake. He's taken a few steps onto Mr. Garza's lawn. All I have to do is stall for a minute, and Mr. Garza will do the rest. He's not playing with us. He just threw the ball back, I say, watching Mr. Garza shuffle across the yard. Faster than I would have ever thought possible, the old man yanks the bat out of Tug's hand and shakes it in his face. You stay off my property, you hear? Go on now, get! And this time, it's Tug who takes a step back. There's something so funny about seeing old Mr. Garza advancing on Tug, and we all crack up. Tug's face reddens, and he turns to us in a rage. You wouldn't catch me playing with that ball now, not after he's touched it. You play a sissy game anyway. My sisters could play better than you. He calls to his brothers, and the two of them stalk off the street with the sound of our laughter nipping at their heels. I notice, though, that Lucky isn't laughing. He helps Mr. Garza back to his chair, but he won't look at me. It's only then I realized I never did ask him if he wanted to play. I open my mouth to say something, but my cousin asks if we can go back to the fiesta for a while, and it's easier to walk away than to figure out what to say to Lucky. I'm not feeling too good about it, though. And it doesn't help when Gary slides up to me and says, "That was pretty brave of you standing up for Tug that way. Why'd you do it?" I don't know, just didn't like the way he was bossing us around. I don't want to talk about it anymore, so I jog ahead of Gary. I'm still mad about the way the game turned out. Still feeling strange about Lucky. I just want to get back to the party and have some fun. That's what this night was supposed to be about, after all. When we get back to our house, Carlos has borrowed a guitar and he's singing an old folk song. Abuelo is singing along with him. Abuelita has her eyes closed, and I wonder if the music is taking her back to her younger days in Mexico. Victor and the little kids are toddling around. Some of the younger girls are holding their hands to help them dance, but Victor will have none of that. He does his own funny step, raising first one leg and then the other until he loses balance and topples over. Rosa reaches down to brush off his hands and help him up. She gives him a huge kiss on the cheek. He squeals and pulls away from her. I grab Gary and lead him toward the food table. Most of the supper food, the tamales, the picadillo, the pozole, is all gone, and there are only a few pieces of cake left. I'm about to dish up when my mother approaches. Go and find your father, Miguel. Tell him to come back and enjoy the party. But Mama, I was about to get some cake. Abuelita used up what was left of our sugar ration on that cake. There won't be any sugar in the house for a few weeks now. I'll get you some, and some for Gary too. But find your father first. My mouth waters as I watch her cut a sliver of cake. Where is he, Mama? At the store. He remembered something he needed to check. I hurry around the house and through the back of the store. I find my father there working in the dim light of a kerosene lamp. He's got the account books open and is checking the figures. Papa, Mama wants you back at the party. Un momento, Miguel. I couldn't get the books to bounce this morning. It's been weighing on me all day. I realize he's not going to come quickly, and Mama won't want me returning without him. But my cake is waiting, and I can all but taste it. I look over my father's shoulders at the number scratched in the ledger, thinking maybe I can help, but math has never been my best subject. Do you want me to bring you some cake? I offer, thinking that I could bring my own piece and eat it. No, thank you. I already had some. Did you boys finish your game? I guess so. You don't sound too happy. I'm just out of sorts about this scrap contest. I really wanted to win. Still hoping to get that bike, huh? Actually, I was thinking about giving the money to a friend now. He's got some pretty big problems, and I thought the money might help, I say, pulling up an old orange crate to sit on. See, Papa says, but I'm not sure he really hears me. He's smoothing his thick mustache as he tries to work out a problem, and all of a sudden I get one of my brilliant ideas. I wonder why I didn't think of it before, but if I don't say it just right, I'll never get him to listen. You've been working awfully hard lately, I start. Guess we all have, Papa says absently. Yeah, with you doing all the deliveries now and unloading the trucks and helping the butchers, not to mention taking care of the books and all the extra work with the ration points. Seems more like one man can handle. Well, we've always worked hard, Papa says. Yeah, but Mama looks so tired lately. Don't you think she looks tired? At this, Papa finally glances up at me. You think so? Oh, she'd never admit it, but I think she could use a break. I don't think she sleeps well these days. What with all the worry and the work at the store. Papa leans back in his chair. He's wising up to me. You got something to say, mijo. Spit it out. How about you let Alfonso Rivera do the books? Alfonso? Yeah, the soldier with the missing arm who's been hanging around the store lately. I hear he's really good with numbers, and you don't need 2 arms to keep a register. Papa sets his pencil down and studies me. Is that the friend you were talking about helping? Yeah. And did he ask you to ask me? I'm startled that he would think this. Of course not. He never want you to know he needs the work. He's too proud. Needs the work, huh? And then That's when I blurt out the whole story. They're going to take his house, Papa, but maybe if he could show them he had a job, they'd give him more time. Maybe you could talk to them. They'd listen to you. Hold on now, Miguel. Papa, please. He's a war hero. For Ernesto's sake, we ought to help him. My father's face softens. He rubs his eyes. Well, I suppose since I'm not paying wages for the delivery boys anymore, I could afford to pay a bookkeeper. Mind you, though, I can only give him an hour or two a day. It won't be enough to pay off the debt of his. That's okay, Papa. Once people hear he's working for you, maybe some of those other shopkeepers will hire him too. I could even go around and ask them. Hang on now, mijo. I can't let you bother our neighbors. Oh, I won't bother anyone. You'll see. Thanks, Papa, I say before he can change his mind. I'm going to tell Alfonso right now. But as I scoot the orange crate back, we hear a loud scream from the back of our house. We rush from the store into the yard. The first thing I see is everyone huddled in a tight circle, the mothers holding the babies up out of the way. Someone's on the ground, and everyone is looking down on it. It's not until I get closer that I see it's Abuelo. He's lying so still, his skin looks so pale, I'm not sure at first he's alive, but then I see his chest rise beneath his suit jacket. Abuelita is sitting next to him on the ground, squeezing his hand. Mama is cradling his head in her lap. What happened? I asked Juanita. I don't know, he just collapsed. Tia Sylvia races out from the house with a damp cloth and presses it on Abuelo's forehead. I called for an ambulance, she says, and the way my heart is racing, I don't know how she can remain so calm. Mama reaches her hand toward me, but I can't move it first. All I can do is stare at my grandfather, my tall, proud grandfather looking up at the sky with the light in his eyes now dimmed. I take Mama's hand and let her pull me down beside her. Will he be all right, Mama? Mama doesn't answer. She glances at Papa, who is holding Abuelita in his arms. Her head is resting on Papa's shoulder. She's crying softly. I'm sure he'll be fine, Papa says to everyone, not just me. I lean down and whisper in my grandfather's ear, Did you hear that, Abuelo? You're going to be fine. You're as strong as an ox, remember? You have to be here when Ernesto comes home. You have to. The wail of the ambulance comes closer. That is the end of Chapter 10. Thank you so much for joining.